Welcome to the Hemlock State Explorer. I'm glad you're with us today because we are on a special adventure. We're in State Game Lands number 141, just northeast of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. And we're going to explore what is arguably the most scenic views in the Poconos. Right now the road is gravel. It's a very easy walk. I'm excited to share this with you today. Birds singing, clear skies. This is going to be a good one. After hiking about a mile on a well-maintained gravel road, you encounter a parking lot which is a little bit behind us. And I wanted to share this with you because I've made the mistake in the past. So you can see we're going around a little curve just past the parking lot. You descend the hill a little bit, the woods thicken up and you come to this curve, and just past this curve is the turnoff to our first destination, Tank Hollow, arguably one of the most scenic views in the Poconos. There, I said it, but you can be the judge of that for yourself. If you could define a perfect weather day, it's about 60 degrees, or the high 60s right now. The sky is glorious. Azure with clouds here and there. A little bit more overcast up ahead, but it feels amazing. The birds have been in continual chorus through the trip. So at about 1.1 miles, just past this curve, is the turnoff to the right. It's a pretty clear turnoff, but I've missed it in the past, and there are other turnoffs to the right in the area, so that's why I want to share this with you. Chipmunks and squirrels playing in the woods. So before we got to the parking lot, before we made the little descent on the hill, the woods were a little bit more sparse, mostly oak and maple and a little bit of gray birch. But down here the woods thicken up a bit. There was some scrubby brush at the top of the hill a bit more. Now it's a bit more thick with looks like to be mountain laurel. Some greenbrier back there hanging from the trees. Rhododendron, a little bit thicker back there. There's a little side trail. But anyway, here we are. And they put up a sign since I've last been here. So now it's very conspicuous, the Tank Hollow Trail. Let me just pause this and get a picture of that. All right, so got a picture of that for the website. So I'm glad you're joining us today. If you're just watching us on YouTube, that's great. Or on some other social media platform, that's great. But I really encourage you to visit hemlockstateexplorer.com. There you'll see the photos and a full description of the adventure with helpful tips. We'll also have a map with all the points of interest marked. So check out hemlockstateexplorer.com to get the full adventure. So we've moved from a gravel road to a kind of soft packed earth. You can see sandy spots trail, pretty easy, smooth hiking, easy on the feet, but I do see some rocks sticking up through the trail. I wonder if they'll get heavier later on. I don't quite remember. Looks like we've picked up a bit more pine as we progress on this trail. The woods get a bit thicker. But what a nice peaceful trail out in the woods. on the plateau, a little bit northeast of Jim Thorpe, near the Lehigh River. We'll see the Lehigh River today at Tank Hollow. All right, I'll pick it up as we get a bit closer to Tank Hollow. All right, here we are. We are almost at Tank Hollow. That was a short, very pleasant walk through the woods. It thickens here with rhododendron, and if I remember correctly, we're going to pass through something of a veil of rhododendron that will then expose to us the beautiful, glorious Tank Hollow with the Lehigh River bending around Broad Mountain through the gorge. So I'll just stop talking for a bit and you can experience this. Almost there, just around this curve. You can hear water. Must be a tributary to the Lehigh River that way. All right, passing through the veil. Almost a tunnel of rhododendron. Sky's opening ahead. Here we are. Let me just pan through for you. Let's get a view from on top of these rocks. Just watch your step. Easy to cross, but there are crevices. Oh yeah, so if you come here in the warmer months, this place does have a lot of snakes. Rattlesnakes in particular. Don't mind them because they give you a warning. But here we are. I think we can maybe get an even better view. We hop to this rock. Looks like there's a very convenient we could jump it, we could go around down that way, but there's actually a very convenient hemlock right here, a hemlock step ladder, so we'll just take that across to that rock and take a look here. I'm going to just turn this off for one moment while I cross. So what do you think? The most scenic view in the Poconos? I don't know. I would have a hard time thinking of a strong contender. But if you know of one, please share it with us and we can explore that too. Let me just pan from this view for you, from the pines and rock outcropping to the oxbow bend of Tank Hollow. And there's a ravine there. I can hear water coming from it. Maybe we can somehow get to there either on this trip or on a future trip. From the upper overlook, there's a narrow trail through some thick rhododendron that leads to another rock outcropping. That's where we are. You get a little bit closer to the river. There's actually a trail that goes all the way down Tank Hollow to the river, but that'll be an adventure for another day because we want to go to another overlook a few miles away. I think it's called Buzzard's Point or Buzzard's Peak. So we'll get a last view here. You can actually follow us up the rocks to the first overlook and then back through the veil of mountain laurels, and we'll get back on the trail. So yeah, please, if you know of a more scenic overlook in the Poconos or anywhere else you'd like to adventure with us, make sure you post that, send it to me, get a hold of me through the website or post it in the comments to the video, and we will be sure to check that out as time and priorities allow. Alright, so here's the narrow trail through the rhododendron. And here we are back up the upper overlook. What a glorious view. So there are often snakes hanging out on these rocks. Unfortunately, did not see any today. But don't worry, we are in no shortage of snakes on adventures with the Hemlock State Explorer. Get one last view before we head back. There it is. Really hard to get enough of this. All right, back to the trail. We'll pass through this veil together just because I think it's so cool. Like a curtain on a stage that draws back and opens up to reveal the show. All right, here we are back on the main trail, or rather the side trail from the State Game Lands Road that led to Tank Hollow. So I will catch up with you a little bit later. I was making my way back to the gravel road to proceed to Buzzard Overlook, but I kept hearing the water and I saw a trail off to the side and decided to take a side adventure, and man, was it worth it. This is what we found. I think this trail just graduated from highly recommended to must see. And this is just one of multiple tiers. There's more waterfall that you can't see from here up above, and it sounds like more waterfall below. I'll mark the side trail that leads here on the map. It started out as a trail and then entered some pure rhododendron canopy, and we traveled through that. It was a little bit difficult, slippery, and steep, but man, it was worth it. I'm also going to share with you a track. There's not really a trail on a map here, but I'll share a GPS track with you and coordinates on the website so you can find this too. Just be very careful getting here, but man, is it worth it. We're taking a brief rest on one of the ledges between the tiers of the waterfall, which I'll pan up to show you. It really is glorious. So it cost us a lot of sweat and a little bit of blood to get here. It would be generous to call it a trail. We had to go on all fours at points. The ground was the humusy ground that you find in rhododendron forest. It was that, you know, black dirt with a lot of leaf matter that just gives way underfoot, and it was very steep. So yes, I do recommend check out this waterfall. I mean, you can see for yourself how beautiful it is, but it is not easy. So make sure you're in good shape, you're wearing the appropriate footwear. We were using the rhododendron trunks and branches as ropes for a lot of the climb. I went down as far as I was really willing to. It gets very steep down below, and I saw a number of cascades, but I didn't really see any more waterfall. Passing through some dense rhododendron on, you know, maybe 100 or 200 feet behind me, there seems to be a rock slide that I tried to climb down. Well, I did climb down it, but it was like pick your poison. That really was not any more stable than the steep rhododendron hill, and you know, during wet weather, that would be like a suicide death sentence. So just be very careful coming here. But as you can see, I mean, if you can make it here, this is truly beautiful. And like I said, Tank Hollow itself made this highly recommended. I think this little side adventure, I'm so glad we decided to take it, makes it a must do. So I think we're rested up now. My mouth has been running, but my legs and arms have been resting. So take one last look at this, and then we're going to head back up the trail. I'm going to do a GPS track so you can try to get here yourself if you feel you're able to. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. There we go. Pan down one last time, zoomed out. All right, the Hemlock State Explorer lives to hike another day. I'll see you back up on the trail. We're back on the trail after visiting that waterfall. Here's the turnoff to the path to go see the waterfall. I'll mark it on the map at hemlockstateexplorer.com. The track I made was really not helpful at all because I totally got off the trail on the way back, just got turned around in that thick canopy of rhododendron. But at any rate, I'll have the turnoff to the trail marked, and I'll have the waterfall marked. The waterfall is actually not very far from the main trail. It's just figuring out the best way to get there. So maybe you can do a better job than I did. I went a circuitous route, but maybe there's a more direct route to the waterfall if you just draw a line between the 2 points. I mean, that would make the most sense, but don't always do what makes the most sense, I guess. All right, so we're back on the trail, and I will catch up with you a little bit later. We walked a few miles on a gated gravel state game lands road, and it was the large gravel, the kind that's used to prevent washouts, so it was just as easy to walk alongside that. But we saw a number of black snakes. I think there were 5 different ones we saw. They seemed to really gravitate towards that area because there were large flat boulders along the side of the road that had kind of hollowed out spots around and underneath them. So I saw a number of black snakes slither underneath the rocks. That was cool to see. We came to the end of the trail, or the end of the road rather, and back to a trail. We turned left at the end of the gravel road, and as you can see, this is not gravel, but it is clearly an old road. You see off to our right the Lehigh Gorge. That's what that is down there. And then this is clearly a graded road. So we are pretty close now to the Buzzards Point Overlook. We've arrived. The Buzzards Point Overlook. That's the Lehigh Gorge with the Lehigh River flowing through. Let me just pan around. That is glorious. I love the view of the gorge. I can hear the sound of the river. I love the clefts flowing, or the clefts in the sides of the gorge and the train tracks at the bottom. I'm going to just pan back to look upstream. You can see the shadows of the clouds on the mountain. So I'm going to post photos of these at hemlockstateexplorer.com. What a glorious day. So a few hundred feet after Buzzards Point, there's another lookout. There's actually a campsite you'll encounter, then a short but steep walk down that trail we just saw. And then here is another lookout. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Zoom in. But I do see a black snake coiled up down here. Very steep, kind of slippery, so be extremely careful if you come to this lookout. But let's go see what this black snake's up to. Really wants nothing to do with us. Just went deeper into that rock. Alright, well, let's go check out this view. Just before I step anywhere, I'm looking for any more snakes. Here it is, Lehigh Gorge. From a little bit different angle. From the cliffside campsite overlook, I heard water, and I saw on the map there's a tributary to the Lehigh River that flows through what's called Butcher Hollow. I'm going to stop for a second and you can hear the water yourself. So that's what drew us down here. Let's see if it's worth checking out. We're going downhill, but it's a fairly gentle grade, all things considered. Hear that? Wonder if it'll be a waterfall, but at any rate, that is a beautiful sound. So not really a waterfall, but there's a little pool here. Looks like a cool place to dip your feet in the summer. Here it is, Butcher Hollow. Looks like there's a trail, maybe, along the stream up into that dense mountain laurel, or rhododendron rather, and also a trail on the other side. I know you can't feel it, but there is such a pleasant cool breeze coming down the cleft and over the water. But anyway, there's a trail on the other side, so we will add this to our adventure to-do list. But for now, this is our turnaround point, so let's adventure back up to Buzzard Point Overlook, and then back to the parking lot at the State Game Lands. We're nearly at the end of our journey to Tank Hollow and the Buzzards Point Overlook and back. The terrain was actually pretty easy most of the way because it was State Game Land gravel roads with two side trails, one off to Tank Hollow and then another side trail off to Buzzards Point, and those were actual trails, not roads, but much of the road is what you're looking at right now. So we saw Tank Hollow, arguably one of the most scenic views in the Poconos. If you have one that you think is a contestant, please send it to me and we can go check it out. We also saw Buzzards Point, which was a bit of a different view of the Lehigh Gorge, maybe not quite as spectacular as Tank Hollow. Also saw a number of snakes. I think our snake count was up to 7. I didn't keep a totally accurate count, but I think it was about 6 black rat snakes and 1 small garter snake. Also saw a bald eagle flying through the gorge. Overall, this has just been an almost perfect day. Temperatures really pleasant. There's been a nice breeze on and off, and I tell you, the scenery of the gorge, it was just glorious. And who can forget the waterfall? The trail to the waterfall actually wasn't that bad. I didn't really find a great way to it. I mean, we got to it. There's probably a better way. But if you want to explore the lower cascades of the waterfall, that's where it gets pretty dicey. It was very steep. Fairly slippery, so explore that at your own risk. I mean, I did it, so you should be okay. Just be really careful doing it. So we're turning the curve and almost back to the parking lot. I want to thank you for joining us today. Please like and subscribe because the more interest we see in these videos and in the blog, that means the more we can do. Please also visit hemlockstateexplorer.com, where you can find many other adventures along with maps, tips, campground reviews, and other good things. So check us out, and until next time.